At the Hunter Academy tournament, he stunned one of the world's most powerful hunters. As soon as the game started, everyone knew something was very wrong. One by one, the students charged him with their practiced moves, but he knocked them down using only his bare hands. With no fancy tricks or magic weapons, he won the day using only perfect timing and raw power. Even the officials and guild scouts watching from above couldn't believe their eyes. And in the final clash, he shattered the Academy's best student and threw the whole arena into chaos. Just as everyone thought the tournament was over, Lee Seyoung, a world-class hunter who was like a monster compared to normal students, stepped onto the stage. While everyone else focused on brute strength, she instantly realized that something far more dangerous was being hidden. Their fight was more fierce than anyone had ever seen. His body started to slow and his breathing turned heavy. As exhaustion pulled him under, he unleashed a terrifying power he had kept hidden. He lit a black flame not to hurt his enemy, but to make tiredness disappear completely. Suddenly, his tired body snapped back to life in a flash. His speed came back and his power grew again. For the first time, even Lee Seyoung had to admit that the man standing before her was no ordinary guy. So how did he become so strong? It all starts with our hero, Hyun-si, while the announcer screams at everyone to run to the underground shelter right now. He jumps so hard he forgets to breathe when he sees that the whole window is now filled with monsters trying to get inside. The vision turns real as the window shatters. Monsters rush in, and he runs away in terror, trying to figure out what they are while being chased. He saves himself by leaping through a window and hiding on the ledge until the monsters pass, then climbs back with a long sigh of relief that he's finally safe. Suddenly, he spots a child wandering far away in the danger zone and rushes over to ask why, urging the kid to return to safety. But the child is too obsessed with killing the monster he saw to listen. So Si-hyuk, disgusted by the stranger's obsession, finds himself dragged along anyway as the child explains that these mysterious rifts are gateways for monsters that appear without warning. And Si-hyuk realizes the bitter irony of surviving hell in another world only to return home to find Earth ruined. The kid is shocked that he has to explain things to Si-hyuk and asks why he doesn't know. But when Si-hyuk lies about living in America, it only makes the crowd confused because no one can travel from the US to Korea, leaving the kid staring in total bewilderment at what Si-hyuk is even saying. Si-hyuk cleverly steers the conversation away from himself and asks the kid about the hunter he loves. And the kid replies that her name is Lee Seyoung. The boy tells us that Seyoung is a top-tier fighter in the Jinwoo Guild. Right now she's fighting a dangerous corruption rift near Chorwon with her mighty greatsword in hand. As the boy spills all the secrets he knows about Seyoung, Si-hyuk lets out a sigh of relief that he managed to steer the conversation away from himself. But he still struggles to believe that a normal human is fighting a monster just like the one from his other world. While the guy kept listing everything Si-hyuk needed to know, Si-hyuk suddenly clapped a hand over his mouth to make him shut up. They peek around the corner and spot 5 monsters in the distance. But Si-hyuk notices one more hiding, bringing the total to 6. Si-hyuk feels grateful that this body has real strength, so he knows fighting monsters won't be a problem since he's used to taking on many enemies at once. But the real trouble is the kid with him because the moment he turns to check on the guy, he is already shaking. Si-hyuk stares in shock, realizing his fierce resolve to hunt monsters has vanished the moment he faced one. And now, with no weapon in hand, he's stuck wondering what to do next. But suddenly, he feels a strange energy humming in the air. The instant he realizes these monsters match the ones from the other world, Si-hyuk charges in to fight them. He bursts out from his hiding spot and strikes one of them with his paradox flame. Si-hyuk is grateful that the special power from his past life is still inside him, and even though it isn't as strong as he hoped, he thinks it's perfect for what he plans to do. The monster's head burns away in agony while the kid praises Si-hyuk as his new master for an amazing feat, and even as the beast continues to burn, the guy decides he must confirm the kill is real. He bolts toward the still-burning fire while Si-hyuk screams for him to stop, but just as disaster is about to strike, Si-hyuk leaps in like Superman to shield him with his own body, taking the heat and getting hurt to save him. Si-hyuk tells the kid to stop staring at screens because real life isn't like a movie. Si-hyuk grabs the staff he's holding and swings it to slice through the monsters charging at them. Si-hyuk moves with such smooth speed that it looks like he's wielding a real sword, leaving the boy completely stunned by what he sees. He praised Si-hyuk for asking if he was a secret hunter. On the other hand, Si-hyuk isn't fully happy about starting his new life because he's basically back to the very life he was trying to run away from. Soon, they reach the shelter, and Si-hyuk gives up on treating the kid like a schoolboy and starts calling him a brat instead. As soon as they reach the shelter, the boy's mother sees him, shouts his name Yoon, rushes over to thank Si-hyuk for keeping him safe, and tells him how hard it must have been. As the woman hugs her son and Si-hyuk spots her expensive things that reveal their wealth, he realizes why Song is a brat just as a monster smashes the outer wall. In a split second, panic sweeps through them as they all scramble to find safety. They can't believe the outer wall has fallen. So while everyone runs away, Song calls Si-hyuk to join them. However, Si-hyuk stands there burning with rage because all he wanted was a normal life. Yet he can't escape this mess, and his anger boils inside him while he questions if he is asking for too much. He stares at the burnt scar on his palm from saving Song and calls the boy he saved, brat. Si-hyuk questions Song on why he wants to be a hunter when his family is clearly wealthy enough to just live comfortably without ever having to fight. Just then, Song whispers the heartbreaking truth about how a monster stole his father away. Suddenly, a rusted crack tore open in their underground bunker, proving that even the place they thought was safe could crumble, and showing Song for the first time that there is no truly safe spot on the planet. Song declares his dream to become the ultimate hunter and seal the dangerous rifts to save the world. And though Si-hyuk agrees that he will rise to greatness, he delivers a shocking blow by admitting that Song will never actually be able to save the world. Song's mom is panicking and tells her son they must go, but he hesitates because Si-hyuk is still standing in front of the monster. Suddenly, a bright light flashes behind them, and when they turn around, they are stunned to see Si-hyuk has already defeated the monster with his paradox flame. Si-hyuk tells Song that he won't be able to save the world, since he would have already done it. Si-hyuk grins and tells Song that saving the world is something only someone who's done it before should try. Once things calmed down and Si-hyuk promised Song he'd save the world, he went home to play video games and eat junk food. Even though he loudly promised to save the world, his brave words quickly faded away because he was far too comfortable at home with plenty of food and video games to keep him busy. Besides, Si-hyuk feels he isn't needed since hunters are already working day and night to save the world. Suddenly, Si-hyuk tries to order junk food but realizes he has no money left because the original owner lost his job when the company went bankrupt. It finally hits him that with no money left, he must find a job, but the usual ones have vanished because of the constant corrosion rifts closing down most businesses, leaving Si-hyuk completely lost on what to do next. Lying in bed and frustrated, Si-hyuk gets a notification about the hunter program, so he heads out knowing his experience will help. Once inside, he sees many others there hoping to become hunters, and overhears two guys saying the selection is just a formality since showing a unique skill is all it takes these days. Just when things are calm, the legendary Seyoung walks into the building and sends the hopeful students into a panic. Everyone is thrilled to see her back, especially since they thought she was stuck in Chorwon fighting a dangerous rift, so they wonder if the Jinwoo B squad sent Seyoung out to pick the best candidates, or if she has another purpose entirely. It turns out the Academy grad Han Song-ae has an awakened ability that makes Seyoung tease her about charging batteries. But Song-ae's assistant quickly reminds her that the girl is a hunter, and since rumors say she's skilled with her power, she'll be very useful. Seyoung's other assistant interrupts to explain that hunting in corrosion rifts is real fighting, and that even top Academy students can fail in a real fight. So Seyoung praises the guy for his cleverness and rewards him with a candy while the other guy watches with disgust. Seyoung knows that training and real fighting are totally different, so she thinks it will take Song-ae a long time to get used to the danger of actual combat. Moments later, the host steps onto the stage to welcome everyone, announces that the first match is about to begin, and Seyoung hopes that Song-ae will grow strong enough to win over her rival. The host then tells everyone that the first candidate is really interesting because he's just a regular civilian, and not even from Hunter Academy, which is quite unusual. The host can't believe Si-hyuk has the guts to stand on stage, so he calls out his name to introduce him to the crowd. His rival walks onto the stage as the host explains the rules, warning that only the association's gear is allowed and life-threatening attacks are strictly forbidden. Deep inside, Si-hyuk only cares about saving the world, eating well, and living life exactly how he wants. To make this happen, he realizes the first thing to do is to start winning in the tournament. Once everything is set, the referee kicks off the match, and Si-hyuk's rival ignites his spear with a mocking laugh, calling Si-hyuk a trash bag who can't even gather mana. The guy hasn't done a thing, yet he mocks Si-hyuk and tells him to count his defeat as a victory. He charges at Si-hyuk, shouting that he is the unbeatable spear master of the Hunter Academy. Just then, the dude suddenly realizes he can't see Si-hyuk anywhere. Before Si-hyuk even realizes what's going on, a punch lands right in his gut, sending a wave of sharp pain shooting through his entire body. Si-hyuk isn't done yet, so he throws an uppercut to the guy's head to knock him down. The guy crumbled to his knees in pain, blood trickling from the missing teeth in his mouth. Si-hyuk is shocked to see the dude already on the ground, even though he held back all along just because he didn't want to hurt him. Si-hyuk wrongly thinks the guy is weak and a beginner, because he simply refuses to accept that some hunters are naturally that weak. Seon watched Suk's move and was totally stunned. She quickly pulls out her tablet to check Suk's background, only to discover he's just an ordinary man working at a logistics company with no magic inside him. One of Seon's helpers whispers that Suk's punch was just luck, so Seon hands him a piece of garbage candy to shut his mouth. Seon tells them that Suk is doing it on purpose and isn't building up any mana. Back in the arena, Suk makes up his mind to end the fight right away so everyone can see he's truly capable. Suk charges at his opponent, leaving the guy so terrified he nearly pees himself just seeing him coming. Suk promises that the wound won't be deadly, so he can stop worrying. Despite promising to keep it light, Suk winds up knocking the guy out cold and takes the first win of the day. This leaves every official stunned while Seon spots the other guilds already planning their next move. So she decides to strike first to finally see what Suk is really made of. Seon rises to leave, and when her co-workers ask where she's headed, she tells them she needs to meet with the association president. As the fight goes on, Suk keeps beating his opponents and can't believe how weak these so-called new hunters really are. He isn't even reaching for a weapon, preferring to knock them out with his bare fists. Suk is frustrated that, despite being at the Hunter Academy, he hasn't even had the chance to fight a single skilled opponent yet. Soon after, Suk heads to the final match where he will face Sanga. Everyone is counting on her to end Suk's winning streak. As soon as Sanga steps onto the stage, Suk praises her, calling her the only one he's seen who holds so much powerful energy. Sanga tells Suk that his luck has run out. Sanga lunges for her sword, realizing that Suk has no special tricks and has only been punching whatever came his way. But she makes it clear she isn't going to let him off easy. Suk nervously thanks her for considering him, admits he has a special skill, but promises never to use it against Sanga. Sanga takes a deep breath, fills herself with power, and gets ready to go all out against Suk. Once she's ready, she sprints at Suk, only to be stunned when he jumps up to dodge her blow. Sanga is in shock that Suk just jumped right through a lightning strike. Meanwhile, Suk is amazed that she turned the sword into a railgun by making its blade and handle magnetic with electricity, which boosted the sword's cutting power. Suk tells Sanga she's been the best so far, but warns her she's missing something vital. She focused too much on rushing to attack. She made a big mistake by trying to make her drawn sword move faster, so she built a magnetic rail out of thin air. Suk warns her that speed and power don't mean a fool won't dodge a move with a plain opening, while she dismisses his claim of being a fluke and promises she can beat him without even using that special technique. So she charges forward with a slower move of her own. Suk dashes past her, teasing Sanga about being slow since he barely dodged her fastest strike while she swings something even slower at him. Determined not to lose to Sanga, the girl unleashes a move that cracks the ground beneath them, and Suk quickly realizes she's pushing herself too hard and will crash if she keeps going. Suk finally calls for a halt to the battle, declaring that they've enjoyed the fight enough. He playfully challenges her to raise her left hand if what he's about to do hurts. Before Sanga can even react, Suk rushes in and punches her in the middle of her stomach, breaking her rhythm, and then hits her one more time, sending her flying across the distance. Sanga gets knocked out, leaving everyone stunned because no one thought Suk could take down the academy's best student. As Suk turns to walk off stage, he suddenly sees Sanga lifting her left hand. Suk recalls the joke he made about raising her left hand if it hurt, and he's surprised to see her actually do it. Just as Suk is about to go, the referee suddenly stops him with news that the tournament schedule has changed. He told Suk to stop for a quick rest, leaving Suk completely baffled because the fight was supposed to be over. Suddenly, the referee drops a bombshell by declaring a special match between Suk and an active hunter, leaving everyone stunned. The monitor, hidden from everyone else, quietly reveals the hunter to the crowd, sending them into a frenzy and convincing Suk that the hunter must be an expert. The hunter turns out to be Seon, and Suk wonders if she's there just to test his skills. Seon strides onto the stage with her great sword, telling Suk he must fight her because it's the only way to prove his true skill. She introduces herself and her guild, telling Suk that she's the perfect match for him, and while she lets him know he can say no, Suk is instantly struck by her calm presence and world-class aura. So even though he knows fighting her in his current form will be tough, he happily accepts the challenge. Suk shocks the referee by demanding the match start right away, then proudly admits he still has most of his energy left to give. Knowing he needs to win the tournament, Suk decides that battling Seon is the perfect way to get there. Suk then grabs his spear, eager to see if he can become more valuable. After 30 minutes, Suk is still on his feet, but Seon's powerful blows are making it hard for him to stand tall. Suk refuses to accept he's fighting such a powerful woman, yet he manages to push Seon back and realizes his own speed has already dropped compared to the start of the battle. Suk spots chances to win against Seon, but his body can't keep up, and after just 30 minutes of fighting him, he is already sweating and looks completely drained. Seon playfully jokes that she was hoping for a warm-up, and while she can't believe Suk is already tired, she's still impressed he lasted that long since she thought he'd quit within 5 minutes. Seon then bolts towards Suk, ready to end the fight. Suk scrambles to think of a move as Seon charges straight at him. He realizes he has no mana left to spend, and the tiny amount floating in the air is too thin to be useful. Though he didn't want to, He saw no choice but to ignite his paradox flame just as Seon struck, allowing him to dodge the attack at the last second. Seon couldn't believe it. She was certain her powerful and perfect swing should have made dodging impossible. Yet Suk somehow managed to avoid it. She also spots a black flame burning on his skin, which makes her very curious. Suk smiles with confidence, ready to bring back the power he trusts most after tapping into it before leaving Earth. The flame Suk wields doesn't burn normal things but instead feeds on abstract ideas he calls fuel, yet he can only ignite simple ones like speed, so he dashes at Seon, who watches him blur past even faster. Suk hits with such force that Seon has to block with all her might, and she's shocked to see him recover that fast. The fight suddenly explodes to a new level as their weapons clash with loud metal sounds, and Seon is confused to see the mana in the air jumping up and down, even though the arena hasn't changed at all. It turns out that paradox flames give off mana when they burn up abstract ideas, just like regular fire gives off heat when it burns normal things. Now Suk must use his mana to light the paradox flame, which then burns away his tiredness to make more mana, creating an endless loop. The two fighters keep crashing into each other, smashing the arena floor, thanks to Suk refusing to quit because he's built for a long, grinding battle, and even when Seon asks if he can hold on, Suk promises he can. Suk asks her if she likes guys who can't quit, and she tells him she hates them. Just as burnt trees leave ash behind, a paradox flame also leaves its own residue. If everything burns away until only ash is left, the paradox flame will finally fade. After 4 hours of hard fighting, Seon finally takes Suk down and tells him he did great for lasting so long. Once Seon wins, she pulls a giant lollipop from her pocket as a reward for Suk's hard work and slips her business card inside it for him to keep. Suk looks over the card while Seon says they will talk about the details later. She tells him to call her while the selection trials end, and then Suk steps forward to get his award. Days later, Suk checks his phone and sees the card, realizing it holds all the answers he needs. As Suk hurries towards Seon, a towering man steps directly in front of him. Suk asks who he is, but he just hands over a business card without saying a word. Suk realizes the man's name is Yoon Song Hyun, a top hunter for the Taebeak Guild who urges him to join for a chance to become a star. But Suk can't answer immediately since he's already promised his time to Seon. Suk calmly tells Hyun that he'd have to think about it, but Hyun just laughs out loud, saying he has no intention of getting an answer right away. Just then, he grabbed Suk by the shoulder, stepped right up close, and told him to think his answer through. After pulling off this ridiculous stunt, he walks away telling Suk he'll be seeing him around soon. Suk quickly realizes that Taebeak isn't part of his plan. Suk then called Seon to ask where they should meet. Seon says to head up to the second floor of the Hunter Association building to find the hut. A short while later, Suk reaches the hut, which looks like a cozy coffee shop. As soon as Seon walks in, she waves Suk over to her table, and when she notices him looking uneasy, she asks what's wrong, only for Suk to explain that a massive guy named Hyun tried to hire him. Seon is surprised that Hyun took an interest in Suk, and she tells him that the other guilds won't even dare to make another offer. Suk turns to Seon and asks if his warning about Janabi is true. Seon drops a bombshell on Suk, revealing she never wanted to recruit him, which leaves Suk confused and asking why she even bothered to meet him. Seon asks Suk to work on his own, without joining any guild. Seon lets Suk know that Hyun would have probably given him a junior job. Suk is puzzled by this, so he turns to Seon and asks what she means by a junior position and a partner hunter. Since Suk isn't from the Hunter Academy, Seon explains that guild hunters are split into juniors and seniors who work as paid employees on teams led by partner hunters. But instead of getting a regular paycheck, partner hunters get a piece of the guild's net profits. So, in plain words, they act like business bosses because the hunter who started them copied the idea from law firms. It turns out you don't have to join a guild or climb the ranks to become a partner hunter. Suk finally gets it. If he becomes famous and hits it big, those powerful guilds will just come running after him. Seon confirms it and happily tosses a candy to Suk, leaving him confused as to why she's treating him like that, before reminding him that since he has no connections, getting real work is going to be really tough. Seon promises Suk she'll help him with this part without asking for a single penny. Suk was shocked but finally made sense of why Seon would go to such lengths to help him. Seon whispers to Suk that she just wants him to remember the guild Janabi for helping him when he was nobody, so he can owe her a favor later. Seon hands Suk an envelope and lets him decide whether to take the mission inside it. Suk asks what it is, and she explains that Incheon City sent a request about Jiadong-do Island, where a corrosion zone appeared 2 years ago after a failed attempt to stop a rift from breaking through. Suk wonders if cleaning up the rift is his job, but Seon says his duty is just to patrol the island and handle any new rifts that show up. The mission kicks off in a month, with Suk cashing in 5 million right away and another 15 million if he pulls it off. Suk warns Seon that the pay isn't worth the huge risk of the job. Seon urges Suk to train harder and grow famous, because the more people know him, the more money they will pay for his help. Seon asked for his answer, and as predicted, he agreed to the request. Later on, Seon reaches her boss to tell him just how crazy Suk has become. Her boss asks who he is, and she explains that he's just a regular guy who passed the tough selection tests using only his own strength. The boss thinks it's not that crazy, but Seon tells her that Suk actually lasted 4 whole hours against her. Even so, the boss still believes Suk managed to hold on this long only because Seon was playing tricks on him. Seon tells her boss that as a veteran hunter with 10 years of experience surviving hellish places, she should easily toy with Suk, yet he surprised her by lasting 4 hours. Seon marvels at Suk, fearing she might never see another monster like him, while her boss gets tired of her praise and worries that even Suk's skill might not be enough to handle veteran hunters. Seon assures her boss not to worry, explaining that she has already matched Suk up with someone dependable named Sanga. The boss puts her faith in Seon, knowing she is the one calling the shots for the whole guild. The boss asks Seon how Suk will look when he reaches her level, and Seon confidently replies that Suk will be strong enough to take him down. A month ago, Suk got an order for a spear and a special emergency potion packed with powerful energy to help hunters when they needed it most. Handling mana feels like drinking water from a stream, letting you control the air around you, store power inside yourself, and use it whenever you need, all thanks to the elixir in his hand which makes this happen in just a short time. While others must store mana first, Suk skips that step to drink straight from the air, giving him no limit at all. Also, as you breathe in and release this mana, the paths it travels get stronger, letting you use even more of it. But the catch is that until his mana pathways open up, Suk can only work with a tiny amount, making it hard to build a powerful blast quickly, so he decides to rush ahead anyway since every second counts. He is sure that after just 1 month of training, his new body will be stronger than ever. Nowadays, the hunters stand in a line to prove who they are before stepping onto the island. Once they are sure of who Suk is, the official says he belongs to Squad 8. Suk slips in to join the squad, staying quiet while they all chatter away like a flock of noisy parrots. Just then, someone calls out his name, and when he looks up, it's Sanga, whose armless shirt reveals a scar running through her. And since they are on the same squad, she suggests they team up for the mission, but when Suk asks why he should agree, she reminds him that he is stronger than her and says she wants to learn from him, causing Suk to tease her by saying his shoulder is about to fall off from her excessive blushing. Sanga can't take a joke, so she asks if Suk's shoulders pop out often, and he recalls how she literally lifted her hand during their match, proving she has zero sense of humor. Soon enough, the squad gathers around as their leader lays out exactly what they need to do. With a new hunter named Suk leading the way, he explains that corrosion rifts come in danger levels from Class 1 down to unclassified, with Class 1 being the deadliest, and notes that the very first rift to strike a new area is specially called Alpha. It turns out the dangerous Alpha corrosion rift on the island is hiding inside the church in the north. But since it's still classified and only getting stronger, the official urges everyone to stay far away from it. He tells them that their job is to watch over the area and take out any new rust spots that show up. A yellow-headed squad member is shocked to find a rookie joining them on this deadly elimination mission. Before Suk could blink, he noticed the whole squad treating him like a total outsider just because he was new. Just before they head out, someone tells them the offshore control room is awake and ready to help if they ever need it. Thanks to this lucky break, the hunters are sent on their way. After landing on the island, the experienced hunters start plotting, but Suk jumps in to suggest they make Wagyesa Temple their base, pointing out its location on the map while the veterans can't believe a rookie is giving them orders. When they ask why he picked that spot, Suk explains that the temple offers a clear view of their target area and the whole region from the peak, plus the old building provides free lodging, which he notes is the obvious choice. The experienced hunters immediately start yelling at him, saying there are other places they could have stayed, with one even asking what they should do when surrounded for climbing the mountain in vain. But Suk reminds them that they aren't fighting thousands of enemies, so they won't get surrounded. Even though Suk tries to talk them into following him, the hunters refuse, telling him they have no reason to obey an idiot like him, which leaves Suk shocked that there are such foolish people back on Earth, so he suggests they just go their separate ways. Suk takes off running straight for the temple, with Sanga right on his heels. To everyone's surprise, the yellow head from earlier is also following them, which makes Suk wonder why, so he calls out to Kim Min-jae and asks what he's doing. Min-jae boasts that he's just keeping an eye on them because they're rookies, and Suk thanks him for being considerate since it's rare to find a decent person on the squad. But then Suk suddenly stops in his tracks and tells the other two to stop as well. He whispers for them to hush and nudges Min-jae to sneak a peek around the corner. To his surprise, he spots a pack of 50 monsters blocking the path and quickly urges them to take a different route. Suk asks Min-jae about his special power, but Min-jae is stunned because he can't believe Suk is actually going to fight the monsters. Suk wonders if it is normal for a hunter to fight monsters, and he asks again, pointing out your special skill. Min-jae points out the flames and asks which skill he trusts the most, revealing that it is his fireball. Suk feels relieved and tells Min-jae he'll launch the attack on his signal. Min-jae argues that jumping into a fight with 50 enemies while only having 3 of them is too dangerous, especially since it's their first mission and they should call the other hunters for help while they still can. Suk quietly tells them the hunters won't make it on schedule since, while their group left straight from Wagesa Temple, the others are still hunting along the coast. Suk warns that calling for more hunters is a dangerous gamble since they might never arrive, and the monsters could easily turn on the scattered group while they wait. Deep down, Min-jae agrees with Suk, knowing the other hunters won't arrive right away since they were still dealing with their own fight earlier that day. Suk tells his team that the only way out is to fight the monsters directly, so despite the risky odds, he draws a quick plan in the sand. He'll block the sides while Minja blasts the center with a fireball, a move so perfectly timed that Minja is stunned by how ready Suk seems to be for anything, and when Minja strikes, his fireball erupts in a massive explosion that swallows the monsters whole. Minja steps back, saying he needs time before he can fire another ball of fire. So Sayak moves in to keep the attack going and tells him to shoot the next one the moment it's ready. Minja accepts the order while Sayak wipes out the enemies as if they were made of butter, trusting his plan to handle the monsters alone until his next fireball is ready, even though he knows he can't stop every single one by himself. That's exactly why they need to split up their tasks. Any monster that misses Sayak gets caught by Sanga waiting right behind her. Moments later, Minja tells Sayak to move as he fires another fireball, and Sayak jumps out of the way just in time to see Minja destroy the remaining enemies before pulling out a gun that leaves Sayak completely shocked. Just before they could have heart attacks, Minja shouted for them to get out of the way, and Sayak let out a huge sigh of relief because he thought Minja was about to shoot his butt. Sayak then plants a tiny chip into the lifeless monster to show that a junk dealer will come to take the bodies once the mission is done and the area is safe. Sayak can't figure out what the guy means by junk dealer, and Minja explains that they can't easily save the leftover bits from the dead bodies because they are so heavy. Putting chips in them lets the junk dealers come collect everything valuable once the mission is done. After gathering all the items, they sort through them, sell them, and then split the cash, giving the agreed commission to the junk dealers and leaving the rest for the hunter with the chip. Sayak wonders if he can trust the junk dealers, but Minja explains that the only way to be safe is to sign a deal with someone reliable. Minja praised Sayak for being amazing and pulling off the impossible by taking on 50 monsters, but suddenly his tingling senses warned him that something was wrong. He grabs Minja and dives forward without hesitation to escape a giant monster that's been waiting to strike them. Luckily, Minji walks away safe and sound, so he's left wondering what just attacked them. Sayak leans in to inspect the creature and calls it a mid-level boss. Sayak freezes in shock when the monster arrives, making him wonder if this terrifying beast is the one in charge of all the others they just fought. Sayak realizes this isn't a game because the monster's massive mana glow is far stronger than the last ones they fought, so he immediately tells them to step back while he takes care of it. Minja and Sanga think they're helping with a pincer attack, but Sayak is screaming at them to get back or they'll have to go home in a body bag. The serious tone in Sayak's voice forces them to step back, while deep down he knows he must face the monster alone and decides that, since no one is stopping him, he can safely unleash his paradox flame. Once Sayak is ready, he mocks the beast, daring it to charge him. A short while later, Minja turns to Sanga and asks if they aren't going to help Sayak, who looks like he's in big trouble. Sanga tells him it's not needed since Sayak hasn't taken a single hit, and it might make it look like he's in trouble. Plus, Sayak slips past these attacks with ease, something she would have found really hard to handle before. Sayak keeps dancing out of the way while striking back at the same time. Sanga sees that every time Sayak's spear strikes, a black flame bursts forth, leaving him puzzled about what it really is. The bigger the fire, the slower the monster moves. At first, Sayak looked like he was having a hard time, but he was actually just playing with the Sanga, who is so shocked by his skill she can't believe he's a rookie like her. After Sayak finishes playing with the monster, he throws his spear into the air just as the beast charges at him, causing Sanga to panic until the falling spear smashes the monster right in front of him. Sayak didn't even flinch, showing how sure he was of his own skills, and he praised the monster for still moving even after it burned all its strength. Sayak realizes it's finally time to put an end to the monster. Minja is totally stunned because Sayak could not have taken down such a huge monster so easily. After Sayak finishes killing the monster, he asks Minja if it's normal for such a strong beast to appear on the island, and Minja confirms he was wondering the same thing because the creature wasn't even the core of the corrosion rift, though she adds that it makes sense since they were taken through a rift at least as powerful as a grade 3. It was then that Sayak realized the mission briefing had mentioned the alpha corrosion rift was unclassified, so he told the others that the rift on the island had just escalated to grade 3. Sanga refuses to believe the briefing was wrong, but Sayak insists she look at the facts, explaining that without grade 3 corrosion, there is no way to make sense of what is happening. Minja goes wild when he hears this, because the gap between an unclassified rift and a grade 3 one is like the difference between night and day. Minja warns that if she's right, the hunters are in serious trouble and might never return home alive. Minja urges them to rescue the other hunters. Trusting Sayak's skill gives them a chance, but Sayak refuses, reminding Minja that as a human, he has his own limits and cannot save everyone alone. He warns the pair that their job isn't to rescue hunters in trouble, but to find and seal the new rifts, and he makes it clear that not everyone will make it back since that's just part of the job. Sanga then asks Sayak what he would do if he found himself in the hunter's shoes. Sayak looks confused about where they're coming from, but she tells him he'd have begged to be saved. So in a stern voice she warns him that his refusal isn't born of emotion but from the cold truth that in this world, some deaths are unavoidable and he is only speaking about the outcome. He tells them that once you've seen deaths like this, it becomes normal for a person to simply give up and die. Sayak warns them to stop acting on their feelings because that cruel world won't let them survive with such minds. Later that night, they reach the temple, check it over, and Sayak confirms it's safe for them to stay. Minja then remarks that it is a blessing they can spot the other hunters because of their glowing lights. But Sayak still worries that turning on the lights is like flashing a target at the enemy. He knows the monsters can take on the regular ones, but he's scared another big one might show up. Sayak then sends a warning to the hunters that the rift might be dangerous and tells them not to use their lights carelessly, as it could get them hurt. Sayak asks Minja if destroying the rift's core will make the other monsters vanish, and after Minja confirms it will, he explains that the corrupted area will disappear once the rift stops radiating energy. As soon as Sayak hears this, he realizes his only job is to shut down the corrosion rift. Later that night, Sayak quietly prepares to slip out while both he and his friends sleep, leaving behind a silent alarm that will wake them up if a monster comes near. As Sayak cuts through the forest, relieved he found the rift's location, his easy confidence turns to trouble when he stumbles upon a terrifying boss monster, even as the association situation room panics over the lost signals of their missing hunters. As if that weren't terrifying enough, word has spread that the monsters are marching like a disciplined army and Team 3 has already lost a member, leaving their leader screaming in frustration over what could possibly be wrong since they're supposed to just be checking out a mysterious, unclassified rift. Panicking, the team leader shouts for an emergency, ordering everyone to blast a call for backup to every hunter nearby. While they were in the middle of this, he got told that someone was coming right at the Alpha Corrosion Rift. When the team leader hears the news and panics, he orders his subordinates to find the person immediately and tell them to stop, especially since the report identifies the hunter heading toward the Alpha Corrosion as Sayak from Team 8. The team leader shouts orders to link up with Sayak's terminal right away to make sure he's still breathing, only to be shocked that Sayak instantly grasped the mystery of the rift upgrade, since it was a never-before-seen event, proving Sayak is the only one who can handle the Alpha Corrosion and find the solution. And by the time the connection finally opens, Sayak is already locked in a deadly fight with a terrifying monster. Sayak screams into the control room, yelling that they're insane for not doing a full investigation to see if that rift is just an unclassified corrosion. Sayak rants and raves with so many insults that the officials are tempted to cut off his microphone. As Sayak runs from the beast, he realizes his special flame can't kill it all at once, so he must drain its health first and then strike with his spear. But since he already used up too much magic fighting the earlier boss and can't leave the island, he has to find a safe spot to recharge his power. After running around for a few minutes, he finally finds the Alpha Rift and jumps in without a second thought, laughing at the beast and telling it to hurry up since he needs to check something important. Back in the command center, everyone freezes in shock as Sayak's GPS signal cuts out, revealing he has stepped right into the deadly Alpha Corrosion Rift. As soon as Sayak steps into the rift, he's shocked to find it so clean and huge, making him wonder how massive the Grade 1 and Grade 2 rifts might turn out to be if this unclassified one is already this big. Right at that moment, the big boss monster appears, and Sayak realizes it's finally time to finish the fight. Sayak always worried that the paradox flame would burn everyone but him. The fire is so fierce it can even burn his friends, and sometimes it grows too strong for him to stop. The only downside to this skill is that if he fights alone, he can't be slowed down, so he's free to attack however he wants, like swinging his weapon to blast the monster with fire while soaking up magic into his whole body, which widens his magic channels to make him stronger, and finally shows him what he's been missing all along. Just then, the monster lets out a terrible scream, and Sayak instantly knows its plan. Before you know it, more monsters arrive, and Sayak isn't shocked since he heard the first one calling for help, but he tells the boss that guessing numbers won't work. Sayak wraps himself in a wall of fire to burn away the monsters, shouting that he's stronger now even if he's not quite as powerful as he was in the other world. Min-A says the rift's heart holds the strongest monster, and right then, a talking beast lunges at Sayak from behind, but he manages to dodge just in time. When he finally looks back, he's shocked to see a talking monster waiting for his flame to fade before revealing itself as the heart of the rift. With the power he has right now, Sayak is sure he can land 4 hits in a row, so he leaps into action without a second thought. He throws his spear at the monster, which blocks it with its own weapon, but the impact presses down on the sword, prompting Sayak to unleash his dual orbit spear skill, which releases a massive energy blast that smashes through the monster's defense and destroys its body. It turns out the dual orbit spear is a blue path that traces his attacks, repeating his first strike 4 times. This move fires 4 quick attacks in a row, and if the blue beam hits a split second late, it turns into a sneaky 2-part spear strike that's nearly impossible to dodge. Right now, the monster is springing towards Sayak to smash him, but then it makes a big mistake just as the spear comes right at it. Sayak snatches the spear to slash the monster, then follows up with a final blow that shatters its body. It's a shock when the monster vanishes but leaves Sayak with a mysterious box, while the control room panics and thinks it's all over since the monsters keep spreading and their hunters are doomed because they rejected the plea for help. Just as Sayak spoke, the rift vanished and all the monsters disappeared, leaving the team leader shocked to see his demands for mission details suddenly shown on the main screen. The team leader stands stunned, knowing this miracle matches his prayers, yet he can't figure out how Sayak pulled it off. Just a short while ago, Sanga and Min-A were caught in a huge crowd of monsters. Min-A looks around at the empty spot where Sayak should be, then asks Sanga if they'll even make it out of here alive. Sanga sees the man is pushed to his breaking point, and she isn't sure how much longer she can keep going either. A monster lunges at them, and Sanga steps up to fight, only to discover a terrifying secret. She knows she's hit her breaking point and her legs have turned to stone, refusing to move. Sanga shuts her eyes and waits quietly for death to arrive. Suddenly, Sayak knocked out the core, and the monsters began to vanish. When Sayak finally reaches the hunter meeting spot on the island, he sees many hurt people and figures out that the corrosion monsters went crazy while he was away. The other hunters, who had already decided not to team up with Sayak, heard news that he alone brought down the rift and were left in stunned disbelief because no rookie should ever be able to take on a grade 3 rift by himself. Sayak quickly finds his teammates, and Min-A is shocked that he faced the rift all alone. Sayak tells Min-A that his heart finally pushed him to do the right thing, and since things were going well, he decided to just play the good guy. While they are still talking, an official arrives to tell Sayak he is Bayan Jongtae from the Korea Operating Corporation, the 3rd branch manager for Northern Incheon, and that the mayor wants to see him. Soon, Sayak walks into the mayor's office despite the heavy rain. Welcoming him is Lee Seyoung, who offers to help him renegotiate his deal. As they head to the mayor's office, Seyoung tells Sayak that the mayor was eager for their meeting but was stunned when he finally read the island report. After the mayor saw the report and cancelled his entire day, Sayak teased him for doing nothing impressive when he could have just ignored it. Seyoung warns Sayak not to say that, because no rookie has ever taken down a grade 3 corrosion rift alone since the very first hunter started. Yet Sayak is amazed to learn someone did and insists they must be truly skilled. Soon after, they made their way to the mayor's office. Mayor Park Jian greets Sayak and apologizes for shaming him in such terrible weather. Jian gestures for Sayak to sit down and then calls out to Seyoung to fetch some coffee. Once they are alone, Jian tells him he has served the country well. He admits the island was a real headache to handle because their money was tight, making it hard to hire the pricey guild. But Sayak replies that the man must be glad the problem is solved, since he fixed it for so little cash. Jian nods in agreement and asks Sayak if his first mission is really happening, and she replies that it is. The mayor jumps to his feet, shouting how proud he is that Sayak took his first steps in Incheon before claiming Korea is the safest place on earth, which makes Sayak wonder what's wrong with him, even as the mayor insists that Incheon is vital because it is a major trade hub. This free economic zone project is such a huge draw for foreign investors that picking just one to highlight feels almost impossible. The mayor shares with Sayak that huge sums of money are flowing into the international cities of Incheon and promises to lend every possible hand to make Sayak's life as a hunter easy. While walking toward the mayor's office, Bayan stops Sayak to ask why he chose to be a hunter. Sayak compares life to having someone who must always be there to clean a clogged toilet. When he hears this, Bayan tells Sayak that he's certain he'll soon become famous and super popular. He knows that soon companies will start pleading for him to shoot ads and that he might even get discovered for a famous TV show. Sayak sees that Bayan fears fame will change him, and Bayan admits that many talented hunters once lost their sense of duty after getting too drunk on their own glory. He says this isn't surprising because it's just how things naturally go. He says Korea is the only safe haven left on Earth, a final sanctuary for all who seek protection. Bayan tells him that his amazing achievement means lots of people will be watching with great interest. Bayan looks at Sayak and says that he wants to keep being a symbol of hope. Now that Sayak is in the mayor's office, he realizes the boss is just dumping everything on him without even thinking it through. But he knows the mayor will soon realize he isn't someone who can be easily moved by threats like this. Sayok has endured so much over the years that every hardship he faced now feels like nothing at all. Sayok then asks the mayor if there's something he wants in return, since he won't support him without payment. Sayok takes charge and tells the mayor he's probably trying to boost his popularity score to win another term. The mayor couldn't believe how much Sayok knew, only for Sayok to point out that a phone could tell you just about anything. The mayor is shocked by what Sayok knows and asks if he really needs city halls okay. Turns out the mayor was right because, as a rookie, he has to get the mayor's permission before joining missions. Sayok sees that if the mayor presents it right, he can claim he found Sayok's talent in Incheon. Then the mayor tells Sayok that he has always kept close ties with many companies both at home and abroad. He taps on the coffee pack on the table and says the model filming the commercial will soon have her contract expire, and he thinks they plan to swap her face for Sayok's. Just as he was about to go on, Sayok slammed the coffee cup down and yelled at the mayor, asking if he thought he was some cheap trick. The mayor is baffled by this, and Sayok points out that given how things are going, the world seems to need someone to lift the gloom. He tells the mayor that if he keeps hunting, he can easily claim all the mayor's promises. Sayok stands up and tries to leave, but the mayor grabs him and promises that he can get him safe jobs that pay really well. Sayok walks away, calling his offers trash and saying he'll hand them over to his coffee mix model. At the same time, a stranger gets a bad report saying the island test failed because of Sayok. They get to see a clip from his selection match, and the strange man notices the black flame around him, while the whole nation eagerly waits each month for the rankings to be updated. Everyone gathers with bated breath to see who the top hunter will be, finding joy in the rankings even though they hardly change, while Shaun watches closely hoping to spot Sayok on the list. By the end, the results were a total surprise. Shaun took 10th place while Kim Cha-hyun climbed to 5th. Choi Urium was holding 3rd place while Jang Tae-sayok sat in 2nd. And it turns out the place in question is none other than Siwoo. In the end, he got to lead a big press conference where he was ready to answer all the questions. Everyone is watching Siwoo, the rookie who just cleared a grade 3 rift. After being bombarded with questions about clearing the rift, Siwoo finally gets one last shot to ask his final question. The reporter asks what he plans to do, and he promises them he will try his hardest. Later, the association president Moon invites Siwoo on a tour to the site of Gansel's old prison, where a massive hole now stands as a warning that the corrosion rift destroyed most nations' ability to govern. Yet South Korea survived and thrived by harnessing mana to power even their helicopters and shield them from the outside world. Siwoo asks Moon if this is the fate of nations that couldn't survive the rifts, and Moon confirms it, revealing that countless capitals vanished once those corrosive rifts appeared. Moon urges them to step closer to the crater, warning that as they approach, they realize the prison they stand in is actually one of the 8 most deadly corrosion rifts in the world. It turns out the Gansel prison was built 13 years ago, growing right into the city without anyone knowing or warning them. Though a few made it through, they were still swept away because the whole place had turned into a rusted zone, and within days the entire city was gone without a trace. As they walk away, Moon tells Siwoo that while the world's power is still the same, the big leaders have gotten weak, and Siwoo feels happy to learn this but wonders why he even had to be there to find out. Moon then reveals that Hyun from Taebaek visited him a few days ago and is furious that Siwoo isn't joining his guild. Moon calms Siwoo by explaining that the Taebaek guild believes only the strong survive, so if Siwoo refuses their demands, they will likely force him to submit. Siwoo can't believe they'll go that far, yet he's scared he might not be able to stand up to Hyun right now. Moon points out that Siwoo appears to be someone who operates independently of any guild, allowing him to act exactly as he pleases, and Siwoo agrees with this observation. Moon tells Siwoo that he needs to raise his game to stay ahead of Taebaek, suggesting he take on missions from the association president as a way to do it. The moment Siwoo hears this, he isn't shocked since he already knows there's a reason behind it. So he immediately asks the man what he wants, certain they won't just give him missions for free. Moon whispers to Siwoo that all he wants is for him to remember he gave him life, then hands him an envelope to open. Siwoo thinks he's struck gold with a deal from the president that seems perfect for his business. But the man explains he must now escort a cargo ship from Busan to Nanning City through a dangerous world where corrosion rifts appear everywhere. Siwoo glances over the list of fancy things he's supposed to deliver, and he's surprised to see a car among them. Siwoo was shocked to hear that some folks still need the things on the list, and Moon explained that these items are truly necessities for them. Moon thinks Siwoo should get it, but Siwoo disagrees, arguing that even if other nations are crumbling from rifts, that doesn't mean we should ignore the complex rules of international politics. Siwoo quickly sees the mission is just about keeping countries friendly, so he unbuckles his seatbelt and tells the man he isn't interested in it. Moon is stunned by the news and tells Siwoo that the Korean government treats this mission with extreme seriousness. Even so, Siwoo tells Moon he's not interested, warning the old man that getting involved in international politics would be a foolish mistake. The old man is furious that Siwoo is turning down his offer and tries to remind him he's just a new hunter. But Siwoo doesn't care at all. He tosses the mission papers away, thanks the man for the ride, and then dives straight out of the chopper into the water below to swim back to Seoul, leaving the old man completely shocked. Later, Siwoo steps out of the water at Incheon Airport with a casual ease. He spots a dock worker and the two nod to each other like it's the most normal thing in the world. Knowing he might face danger later, Siwoo decides to train himself by tackling the hardest jobs, so he can become a powerful figure who no one can ever bully again. Siwoo checks his phone and quickly spots a mission that looks perfect for him. This is a Grade 2 rescue mission to save the kidnapped victims on Tsushima Island. Siwoo took a deep breath, realizing he had some busy days ahead, as fishermen from Jeoj and Tonggyang set out on September 3rd only to find the sea had changed due to monsters from Tsushima Island that were kidnapping them like prey. Yet a lucky survivor said the trapped fishermen were still alive. Siwoo must travel to Tsushima Island to save the hostages and destroy the corrosion rift. The reward is 55 million won, all of which belongs to Siwoo if he takes the job by himself. Plus, if he can do this all by himself, he'll be hailed as a hero. Siwoo knows the challenge is worth it, but he also remembers the warning about grades and the creatures that live inside them. They say a Grade 3 corrosion rift can destroy a tank, a Grade 2 one acts like a natural disaster, and a single Grade 3 creature would force the whole country to join the fight just to stop it. He knows the Paradox Flame helped him survive the Grade 3 rift, but now he wonders if he can face the Grade 2 all on his own. He knows he needs a capable ally, but finding someone willing to help a civilian feels impossible until suddenly, he realizes there is exactly one person who can do it. Not long after, Siwoo and his partner, the mighty Sanga, hop aboard a ship to head straight for their goal. Sanga asks when they will arrive, and he replies that they have about an hour left. He tells her to rest up and regain her strength before they arrive, warning that the fight ahead will be far harder than the last one. While Siwoo is busy talking, Sanga can't help but wonder about the strange metal pad on his shoulder. She asks how he got the limited edition item, but Siwoo is annoyed by her curiosity and tells her it was a gift from a junk dealer, which surprises Sanga since her own contact never gave her anything useful. Siwoo teases her, pointing out that while she's just an overrated rookie with a fancy title, he's a rising star who already fixed a serious problem all by himself. Siwoo sees the cold look on her face, knowing his words hurt her, so he pushes her to get stronger and become famous so no one can mock her again. A few days back, Siwoo had reached out to Sanga to ask if she'd be his teammate. Sanga is still scared because they nearly died in a level 3 rift, so Siwoo is trying to convince them to take on a much safer level 2 rift instead. Siwoo won her over by challenging her to get stronger. He promised her that he would help her become stronger than she ever thought possible. It turns out Sanga has a personal reason she needs to get stronger and will even throw herself into hell if it means becoming more powerful. Moments later, the ship's alarm blares, warning them of an unknown object ahead, and soon they collide with 5 ships. Siwoo is still trying to decide his next move when he freezes in shock to see Sanga floating in the air. Sanga is shocked that Siwoo can't do it, and she turns bright red with excitement because she has finally found a challenge he can't handle. She bursts into laughter, teasing Siwoo for failing at it. To get moving, Sanga has to carry Siwoo, and once they reach the ships, Siwoo asks her to take the nearest one because he warns that the ones further back look much more dangerous. Sanga accepts the order and heads toward the ship, but she spots a strange shape that Siwoo insists isn't actually human when she looks closer. Siwoo boards the ship he wanted to clean out, and as he feared, he finds humans who have completely lost their minds and turned into violent monsters. Sanga crashes onto the ship with a loud thud, instantly drawing every eye to her. The monsters charge at Siwoo, but he wipes them out without breaking a sweat. With this, he figures out that they're just weak monsters. He thought Sanga would move slowly, but to his shock, she is using all her strength against the weak monsters. Siwoo shouts her name right away to warn her that she's burning through too much mana. He warns her that keeping up her pace will drain her mana quickly, but he also reminds her that she only needs a little bit for now and recalls Siwoo's words about teaching her to get stronger. Siwoo tells Sanga to hold back her power, but even after she does, he warns her that it's still too much. Knowing that a weak life is a tragedy, Sanga has vowed never to be a coward again. As she takes down her foes, Sanga smiles and vows to get even stronger. A few seconds later, Sanga finishes wiping out the monsters and turns to Siwoo to ask if they're safe now. Siwoo tells her that he's already taken care of the other boats. Sanga sighs and thanks Siwoo, admitting that his advice meant a lot to her. Siwoo jokes that he doesn't need thanks since many people wouldn't learn even if he taught them on a spoon, only for Sanga to admit this is the first time anyone has actually advised her, leaving Siwoo shocked as he asks what she learned at the academy and is teased by her quick learning, which makes him wonder if she'll end up stronger than him if he keeps teaching her this way. Tears streaming down her face, she tells Siwoo that she hasn't managed to beat even one of his teachers. Siwook is shocked to see the girl so upset, so he casually reassures her that she doesn't need to worry because he'll make sure she keeps looking up to him for the rest of her life. And just as they are about to dive deeper, the sailors tell Siwook and Sanga they'll stay on guard in case they're needed. Before setting off, Siwook tells Sanga that a survivor said the hostages are at the shrine, and Sanga points out there are actually 2 shrines on the island, the Gaijin Shrine and the Adazumi Shrine. Siwook suggests the Gaijin Shrine be their first stop since they're looking at the distance, and Sanga confirms they can walk there in just a couple of hours. Siwook isn't worried about the danger, but he knows the real trouble is that when they come back, they'll have to drag 15 hostages along with them, just as the survivor said. Besides, Siwook feels a dark, evil energy waiting beyond the fog, and knows the island's rotting monsters will hunt them with wild fury. As Siwook stares at the distant vehicle and realizes everything, he quickly asks Sanga if she can drive well, and she nods yes. Soon Siwook is begging for mercy while Sanga drives like her life depends on it, and she even teases him to take the wheel if he hates her style. Siwook tells her to forget it, then he jumps onto the top of the vehicle, ready to fight the monsters chasing them. Siwook pulls out a sling full of arrows and fires them straight at the monsters. Pulling back this trap still catches a whole bunch of monsters. Right then, Siwook spots monsters jumping at them from the left and shouts a warning to Sanga. Sanga proves just how wild a driver she is, steering her car in a dangerously wild way to shake off the monsters. As Sanga spins the bus on its 2 wheels to scare the monsters away, Siwook wishes he could be the one steering. As they drove down the empty road, the monsters followed right behind them like ants chasing sugar. Soon after, they arrive and Sanga points out the monsters behind them, but Siwook says not to worry since he'll take care of them. Sanga drives the bus right up to the shrine while Siwook instantly throws out a wall of paradox fire at the entrance, burning up any monster that tries to get near. A short while later, they discover the hostages bound up. Sanga steps forward to say hello, but instead of being relieved, the hostages start acting strangely. As tears stream down their faces, they beg Sanga to run, leaving her wondering why they are trying to warn her. Without her knowing, a huge samurai monster has sneaked up behind her, ready to swing his blade. Luckily, Siwook steps in to stop the samurai strike and sends Sanga to load the survivors into the car, while he faces the attacker alone, and soon a fierce fight breaks out between them. The samurai looks huge as he swings at Siwook, but Siwook isn't scared until Sanga suddenly crashes her vehicle into him, knocking him down so Siwook can tell her to get in. Siwook stays on top of the car while the hostages hide safely inside. Everything goes fine until they spot monsters waiting for them right ahead. Siwook spots that the samurai is still alive despite being hit by a car, so with a horde of monsters coming right at them, he asks Sanga to hand him her sword. Sanga is shocked to hear this, since asking a swordsman to give up their blade feels like a terrible insult. Siwook then asks her if she'd rather keep her honor or save the hostages. Sanga has no choice but to hand over her sword, and Siwook snatches it up, ready to use it. To Siwook's shock, a strange device had appeared on his wrist, and though he didn't want to use it right away, he realized there was no other choice once he found out the glove inside the box from the island was the source. It wasn't just a regular glove. It could pull magic right out of the air. When Siwook first laid eyes on it, he thought it was there to help people build up their mana. But for Siwook, it meant even more. It turns out the glove can only store mana for 5 minutes, but that's all it takes for him to match Siwon's strength as monsters swarm them and Siwook grips his spear and sword to unleash a devastating attack. Siwook unleashes a massive strike that wipes out all the monsters in a single powerful blow. Sanga stands frozen, unable to believe the shocking scene she just witnessed. With the way open, Siwook urges Sanga to rush to the port without glancing back. As they keep driving, Siwook stares in shock because the twisted monsters never stop, and though Sanga insists they leave the broken car to fight them, Siwook keeps the wheels turning until they stumble upon a strange wall that suddenly pushes all the monsters to the other side. All the monsters struggle to get through the barrier while the vehicle drives right past it without a care. Sanga stands frozen in shock, glancing around to figure out why the monsters have suddenly turned on them until she spots a glowing mark on the wall, and as she wonders if that's the cause, she recalls that Siwook carved it just before the attack, claiming it was a protective design meant to guard them. Sanga asked what it was, and he told her it was a secret way to push him away, but when she asked where he learned it, he said she would never understand even if he tried to show her. The real reason is that he picked up that skill while he was still in the other world. Nowadays, Sanga asks Siwook if the method can push away any monster, but Siwook says no. He tells Sanga that the barrier won't stop the real Siwook, right as the samurai walks right through it like there's nothing there. The samurai's right eye begins to glow, and the red laser beam races right up to the car. Sanga quickly realizes what this means and calls it the mind's eye. Siwook knows the air has turned cold and scary, Yet he stands calm while watching Sanga shake in fear from the terrifying power of Mind's Eye, which lets you see what your enemy will do before they do it. She shows that even the best masters find this move hard to pull off. Siwook notices Sanga trembling and tells her not to be scared, explaining that tricks like the Mind's Eye are just illusions. Siwook warns Sanga to watch him closely as he prepares to teach her how to handle such moments. And as his eyes begin to glow, the samurai feels fear rising and starts swinging his weapon wildly on his own. Siwook then strolls casually toward the samurai and tells Sanga that this skill can be learned through experience. Basically, this technique springs to life when it senses anger or fear. The samurai can't feel this coming, so he just stands there trying to look tough. Siwook tells Sanga that skills like the Mind's Eye, Heart Sword, and Selflessness let him walk up to a samurai without any hate and cut him down with a single, easy move. The samurai breaks under Siwook's blow, and Siwook casually tells Sanga that all the techniques he mentioned are nothing special. He warns that the scary trap of enlightenment is letting a fancy name stop you from pushing forward, and Siwook tells Sanga that on the battlefield, what truly matters never needs a special name. Siwook says he can speak with confidence now because he had to give up a lot to break free from the trap. Siwook warns Sanga that while the samurai is tough enough to survive a car crash, his greatest trick is just a fantasy in his head. After hearing it all, Sanga is thrown into deep thought, wondering what she has truly accomplished in her conquest. Sanga quickly sees that she can't learn the way she wants to if she only tries halfway. With a precious goal in mind, she humbly asks Siwook to teach her for real this time. Siwook is shocked by her request since he's already teaching her, but Sanga insists she needs direct guidance because she's seen how weak she is and knows she must get stronger fast. Siwook asks why, and she admits she wants to tear down Club Sherde with her own hands. Turns out Club Sherde is one of the 8 worst corrosion rifts in the world, famous for swallowing the Himalayas in a single breath. Siwook knows the goal is huge, so he asks her if she's doing it just to get revenge. Sanga agrees, revealing she's seeking revenge for her family, and as she hands over a card, she tells Siwook that she isn't asking him to teach her for nothing. Siwook looks at the card and sees it belongs to the KY Group, a company so huge it's worth 257 trillion. Sanga reveals that her grandfather runs the family company she stepped aside from, leaving Siwook stunned to learn she comes from such a powerful background. Siwook realizes that Sanga's skill as a hunter could drag her into the succession battle again, so he asks her what she truly wants, and she promises to make him the best in exchange for rare, hard-to-get elixirs that others can't easily find. Since Siwook wants to get stronger, Sanga promises that her special elixirs will make it happen. Siwook knows that if he tells Sanga he has already reached the place he wanted, she won't believe him. He pushed himself to get strong so he could bring Earth back to how it used to be. Siwook then shakes Sanga's hands to show her the deal is done. He hands her a list of his demands and suggests taking the hostages to the hospital first, where the doctor warns them that because 7 patients are malnourished, they won't be able to speak for at least a week. The doctor promises the pair they'll be the first to hear when the hostages wake up, so they must let the hostages rest. Siwook nods at the doctor, then grabs Sanga and yells for him to follow, because they have to start training right now. Once they find a safe spot to train, Siwook stops Sanga to ask a question before they begin. He asks her if she's sure she can dodge his spear if he throws it with all his might. Sanga nervously admits that it'll be tough because the skill difference between them is just too big. But Siwook tells her she can dodge it if she pushes her senses to the very limit. He tells her she has to see with her own eyes, hear with her own ears, smell the scent, and feel with her own skin. Once she finishes all of that, she's ready to battle in the realm of the mind, not the unconscious dark. After explaining everything, Seyoung decides it's time to put her to the test. Before Sanga can figure out what's going on, Seyoung is gone, leaving her confused and searching desperately for him. Before you could react, Seyoung was right behind her, spear pressed against her neck as he laughed, saying she'd gotten it all wrong because she was too slow. He tells her that her senses lead the way, and her thoughts follow. He tells her that in the heat of battle, there is no time to think, so she must trust her senses exactly as they are, because any sense she hasn't mastered will only trick her.